This video is not necessarily about politics or comic books or anything like that. Sort of, I guess you can make the spin on the political side. However, people are under this impression, it really gets me going, to be honest, that it is insanely expensive to eat relatively healthy. Not only is that verifiably false, in order to perpetuate this lie, you get people that make up excuses just so, again, they can get to that end game. Because remember, it's not about truth with some of these types. It's about them having a personal agenda or narrative that they want to be true. How they get there isn't necessarily important. But this all popped off, and I'll see if we can go down to my profile. Man, they make it insanely hard for me to. All right, there we go. But this all started with a post regarding a guy saying that people that have these low incomes, they have to spend more money on like unhealthy food. And the reference really here is fast food. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Why? Because fast food, what you pay for fast food, you can go to the grocery store, generally anywhere in America. And it's going to be much cheaper than what you would pay for at McDonald's. I actually showed a video of I happened to be cooking breakfast at that time. And I was showing how within me spending $10, I have at least minimum 6 or 7 meals with that $10 that I'm able to create for my breakfast. And I could get cheaper. It's just the type of breakfast that I eat with my oatmeal, with my just got to eat it. Bowl oatmeal, eggs, blueberries, and strawberries. And I could get all of that in like bulk for the most part. Get a big thing of oatmeal, big thing of strawberries, blueberries for about $10. Maybe with some theft involved in there, but $10. And by theft, I mean the government stealing from me. Or on the sale, that is. But it's a myth, unfortunately, that's perpetuated by folks who want to maybe have a vendetta against fast food and stuff like that. And I'm okay with that. But my thing is, you can be against that while making an honest argument. To suggest that people are eating there, definitely in like lower income areas, solely because they have to, is stupid. Because they're like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It is cheaper to cook your food. And the reason why I'm saying we have reached peak nanny statism is you got people that say stuff like this. Cooking costs times, and assumes that people have easy access to places that sell fresh produce and not just the gas station on the corner. I wouldn't necessarily recommend gas station produce, but what they are doing here, intellectually dishonest. The point right that we're making here is the objective point. That's true. It is cheaper to eat healthier, actually, than to eat fast food, period. Now, she's trying to come up with these very minor instances in which that doesn't apply, or that she thinks that it doesn't apply. I guess somebody that they claim living in the food desert, which I don't know. And I kind of caught this person not knowing what she's talking about, because she's like, you're in Dallas, I'm in Dallas. I'm like, dude, I was born in the hood in Dallas. The place that I went to, there was a grocery store in called Minions around the corner. It's now called a Food Right, I believe now. But those exist there as well. If it's not Walmart, or something like that. Those exist. But she's talking about cooking. And that's just why I'm saying we've reached nanny statism, because God forbid somebody have to be slightly inconvenienced by cooking their food. This is why I say a lot of people that have economic issues, they're there for their own doing. They won't ever admit it. And there's certainly going to be a politician or groups of people that are going to suggest that the people that are in those situations are in those situations because of something someone else did, or money that someone else has. This is why that argument is so appealing, because it rids them of their agency, which rids them of any sort of responsibility. This is why they use generic terms like the poor. Even though people are poor for a multitude of different reasons, some of which are their own doing. People gamble their money away. People don't spend it efficiently. It happens. But they treat it like this is this block of people that are only in their situation because of something someone else did. But I've seen it because there's people that are not necessarily in poverty who also have bad spending habits, yet still gripe and complain about rich people and stuff of that nature. It's expensive to do this. Oh, God forbid you have to turn on the stove and cook something. Oh my God, the horror. Like, that's the argument that they're making. This person, cooking costs time. No, yes. It costs time. Of course it costs time. Everything you do costs time. This video I'm doing costs time. But I did it. You can do it. And it's a myth, and I just don't understand where it comes from, because me, I've lived in different areas. I've had the benefit of living in a city, in a hood. I've lived in the country, like in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, where the only grocery store was way miles out. My grandmother didn't even drive. Rest her soul. She didn't even drive. And she lived out in the country, yet was able to, she was always cooking, but she was able to do this. And I'm sitting here like, God forbid someone in the inner city, which means that you're more than likely somewhere where a grocery store is much closer than where she was. Like, dude, you either have a car, someone that has a car. You can get relatively cheaper food than going to, I don't know, friggin' Domino's or Little Caesars or something like that. Like, I don't know. McDonald's. You go to McDonald's to get filled up, right? A little McChicken, let's say, $1. You go get from their dollar menu. Think about the amounts of, if you include the theft that's included, right? And because one McChicken isn't going to do you any good, definitely if you're a man. So if you get 2 or 3 McChickens, with that money, you could get something. You get rice, you can get some sort of produce, you can get bananas, you can get some fruits, some vegetables for that price, and it will last you long. This is why it's a complete myth that it's more expensive to eat healthy. I don't know where this came from, because that's simply not true. It is not. It's not that it's just not true. It's verifiably false. But as long as you have people that go around making excuses for people, that's going to be the approach. And everybody's going to think their scenario is going to be the scenario, right? Like, there's not someone that's maybe doing better, but of course there's people that's doing worse. But what I'm saying is, relatively speaking, it is cheaper to eat healthy. You might be slightly more inconvenienced, but it's cheaper to eat healthy than it is to eat fast food. It might not taste as good to you. It might not be as convenient because you got to spend 20 minutes cooking something that you wouldn't have had to spend if you just went and picked it up. Oh, God forbid. But seriously, guys, like, come on, bros. Can we not just... The problem with folks nowadays is that they, instead of looking at how they can do something, they look to reasons as to why they can't do it, if that makes sense. Because the forward thinker, my mother, I was raised in, these guys can't tell me nothing, but I was raised in these same communities that they talking about, single mother. I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? But forward thinkers and people that want to progress think in terms of how do I get to do that, and not thinking in terms of I can't. Woe is me. Like, I'm not even wired that way. It's because I was raised to be that way. My mother wasn't that way. My mother had no issue working two jobs so I can get the things that I not only needed but wanted to do, like sports and stuff. She worked two jobs. She worked daytime and worked in the nighttime. And I never once heard her complain about it. That was the thing. I never once heard my mother complain. And that was like embedded in me. This is why it's nothing for me to work. It's nothing for me to grind. Nothing. Like it's nothing for me to be all times of the night, waking up early, grinding late. It's nothing for me to do that because I saw that as an example, right? And then you look at her because my grandfather wasn't around to raise up. My grandmother had to really raise all of these kids essentially by herself. My grandfather wasn't around because he passed. And it's the same thing. It's like she's not wired like that. You know what I mean? And we just weren't wired like that. Like, I'm not built to make excuses. I'm just not built that way. But a lot of people are, because that's a lot more convenient, and it's harder to admit that you are the subject of your own doing as opposed to blaming it on someone else. That's not appealing. So this is why you get people that say stupid stuff, because they want to perpetuate the idea that, well, it's so hard. And I'm not saying that it's not difficult for certain individuals. It absolutely is. And some people may be in those unfortunate situations. But I truly believe that a lot of people don't do what it is, or don't possess the knowledge base to maximize, let's say, their potential and maximize their opportunity. A lot of people don't do that. They act like it and they pretend high side on Twitter and their smartphones that they have, even though they're poor. But you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bros. It's just what it is. Like, I know it doesn't sound sexy, but you can eat way healthier than fast food for cheaper than what fast food costs. That's not up for dispute. On average, that's just what it is.